Hey everybody, I am back from Houston. I had a whirlwind trip and it's almost like I also had weather whiplash because it was 90 degrees in Houston and I spent a lot of time at night walking around to dinner because I met Carol from Ditto Form. She came on Sunday when I got there and we had a really nice visit and we walked to dinner and it was really cool. And then she was flying home early the next day on Monday. And so Monday I was by myself. I taught two classes from 8 to 12 and then 2 to 6. It was my leggings with pocket class and also my I'm sorry, not my legging with pockets. I'm sorry. That's on Tuesday. It was how to draft a bias top from a knit sloper, and I also taught my pants fitting similar to the way I taught it at PatternCon, where we did all of the pattern work and we prepped the pattern and we got fabric to cut out of muslin, but we didn't actually do any fitting because that's what the conference gave me as a choice. I had broken that class up into two parts because last year people were confused. Well, not confused, but they weren't happy about having to pack up and move to a second classroom because we don't need sewing machines in the morning, but we do need them in the afternoon to sew the muslin. So I thought having, two separate classes would work, but then in the end, the way the scheduling worked out for the Quilt Fest, they only gave me the pattern work part one of the pants fitting. So I'm really happy with the way that went though. And also I think everyone left with a good pattern to cut out and start fitting. And I really hope if you were in that class with me and you have questions that you reach out, I will help you with your fitting. So I'm also going to be sending them the efficient workflow for bodice fitting class so they have it. So that's what I did on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I taught my leggings and skirt class. And those are always really fun classes because they're project-based classes. And most everybody left the room with a finished legging or skirt. So that was a lot of fun. And then I zipped back out. I did get to have dinner with Trisha from Creative Costume Academy on Tuesday. Again, that was a lot of fun. So we walked to a restaurant. We went to Drunken Pho twice. I love Vietnamese beef noodle soup, so I had that. And it was very yummy. And all in all, it was a really good trip, but it was really fast. And that's what I always, try to prepare myself for because I look forward to these events and they take time and energy to prep for them, make the kits, do the things I need to do to teach. I get there and then they're over before I know it. So anyway, so that's my report on that. Hey Mary, welcome. You'll notice I'm wearing a new raglan sleeve top. The neckline is not finished yet because what I wanted to do was talk about the cuffs. And I wanted to show this before I left, and then I wanted to think about it more deeply because I honestly started looking for tutorials to show how to make a cuff that wasn't just a hole in a underarm seam. So I really like the design of this cuff because it gives you a hole for your thumb like this. But the tutorials that I found to make this cuff showed you how to cut out pieces based on a pattern dimension that they prescribed or they were using, and then they showed you how to construct it. But I want to take this tutorial one step farther because there are a few things you want to think about when you're making a cuff with a opening for your thumb to put on the end of a sleeve. Now you'll notice I'm wearing this one so you can see how it looks, and I'll show you on my other camera as well, but this is how it looks. You'll notice I've made it so there isn't any extra play in the sleeve. So basically I made sure the sleeve was the right length to add the right amount of cuff. That's the first thing you want to consider. And then my original pattern had a wider opening. So this is a giant cuff. I could probably fit both of my, I could fit both of my wrists in this cuff, this first one I made. So I want to talk about the components or pieces to this cuff, how they contribute to the width of the cuff, how it's constructed, and how you can customize it for your diameter of your sleeve opening at the wrist. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm going to also share with you, and I'm going to share it now, I think. I'm going to switch my view here. So let's get a close look at the cuff, me wearing it. I like the fact that it's not just a hole in the underarm seam. It's a nice little cozy nook for your thumb. Okay, so that's how it looks. All right, and then something I learned during class, let me just come back on here. If anybody is making a skirt or yoga pants, what I realized, and I am literally shocked that I just realized this now, if you're trying to put the waistband on and it's got negative ease compared to your waistline, or if you're making a skirt and you're in the same situation, now you've got the shorts, you've got the skirt fabric on top, and then you want to add a waistband, I found it significantly easier if you're wearing the leggings or the skirt. You can put the waistband on over your head, line up the raw edges while it's on your body, and put a few pins in there, and then take it off carefully, pin it some more, and you're good to sew. This makes it so much easier to make sure all that ease is evenly distributed around the waistband. It made it so much easier. So I'm taking that play from my class to show you when you're going to put your cuff on. Again, I put my shirt on so I could see where the opening would flip onto, and I could put a few pins in here, making sure everything's nice and neat, and then I can take it off and sew it. So I am now going to be doing it like this for anything I need to add, whether it be a waistband or a cuff. Having it on your body, I think, just makes it a lot easier to see what you're doing. So that's my construction tip at the end of the project when you go to attach it to your sleeve. This also gives you the opportunity to double check the length of the sleeve to make sure it's where you want it. And then when you flip it up, you'll be good. So I'm really happy where this cuff ends, like it would cover my knuckles, and I can actually scoot it down even farther if I wanted to, if my hand was actually cold. So that's my little tip for attaching it on. First, pin it on, right sides together. The way this works is there's going to be a little seam in this piece. You want to make sure that's facing you when you sew it on, and then when you flip it up, there is no seam in that piece. You can see it's solid. All right, so that's what I'm going to show you today. And what I want to do here is just show you my initial situation. Here's my sleeve. I folded it up almost the cuff's width so it wouldn't be too long. And then I created a cuff like this. So I made it was a little bit narrower than the opening. And my thought process was I was going to, I was going to make it a little narrower. But then what I realized was the pieces, and if we look at it here, the pieces of the thumb opening. Hey, Sandra, welcome, welcome. No need to apologize. I'm just glad you decided you had time to come and visit. I'm showing how to make a cuff here, and I'm going to show how to make it fit your wrist, because this is what I think most tutorials are lacking. So you can see here, if I lay the cuff out, the width, the finished width of the thumb opening contributes to the width of the cuff. And I saw another tutorial where they literally made the one half of the cuff, the whole palm side, was open, And that made it really easy to make the pieces all match when you go to sew it together. But then you would have the opening across your entire palm. I did not want that. I wanted it to be like a more fitted opening. Hey Darlene, welcome. You must be on the West Coast if you're saying it's the morning, because it's 1:15 here. I hope your weather is nice. It's cold here in Connecticut. I got off the plane and it was like a chill fest compared to the 90 degrees that it was in Houston, and it was 80 when I left here in Connecticut. So we've had like a bunch of weird weather. But anyway, so I'm going to show you how to figure this out, to figure the whole thing out. So you can see here, this initially was not the right idea, because obviously if I had used this whole big piece and then I added the width of the thumb opening into that, it would be way, way too big. So here's how you figure out what your dimensions of your cuff pattern piece, and then your the two pieces that you need to make the thumb opening look like this. All right, so I'm going to show you how to figure all of this out right now, and then you'll be able to make a cuff for any with wrist opening. All right. Oh, it's some rain. Yes. Oh, we're going to have a rain. There's a nor'easter coming up the coast. We're going to have rain this weekend. So, but we need it though. It's dry. No, I hope it clears up for you. Okay. So getting back to this, this is what I ended up doing. This is the width, this side of these pieces, this is the width of the thumb opening plus 2 seam allowances here. So I'm using, 3/8 inch seam allowances because that's what my serger sews. So this would be finished a little under, like right around 2 inches, maybe a little bit wider. So I thought that was too wide. So I actually trimmed off a 1/2 inch to make this smaller cuff. This is the original size of that piece, which is about 2 inches finished after it was sewn with 3/8 inch seam allowances. So it was a little bit less, well, no, 3, because it was 3 then 2, a little bit more than 2 inches. So once I realized all the dimensions, I actually cut a 1/2 inch off of these pieces to create this cuff. You can see it's slightly narrower. I think you can see that. But just keep in mind, these contribute the width of the cuff, and then you need 2 pieces, and the math for the 2 pieces are this bottom piece, which is this piece right here, plus this piece, which we're going to sew into a tube, together have to have enough length going this way to overlap and line up so that the fold of the top piece is right at the center of your cuff. So this is the cuff pattern piece, whoops, and that's the fold, right? So these pieces together have to reach the center of here to make the cuff, because when it's finished, this folded edge and this folded edge, see this, wait, let me show you on here. So see, this is the folded edge, and this is the folded top edge of that piece. It all has to line up like that. That's why these pieces have to line up with the center of the cuff. So here's how I'm going to figure out the math to make a pattern piece for the armhole opening. Now the other thing I did do is, after I sewed, I'm going to switch my view here for a second. I'm going to move him up here for a second. All right, so after I sewed this raglan together, I looked at how the sleeve was fitting me. I put it on inside out, and I pinched out how much I wanted to pinch out of the width of the hem to make it fit closely around my wrist. So I ended up taking out about 2 inches of width on these sleeves. So I started at the wrist edge and I literally sewed up, you know, cutting an inch away from the original, and I blended back to my original seam under the armhole and back down the side because I liked how the bust fit. And you can see this is a looser fitting raglan. The raglan I made before that I was gonna show you how to put the cuffs on, I put my thumb through the hem that I used the flat felled seam on. So if you want to use a flat felled seam to finish your hems, you want to make sure it's not a snug fitting top, so when you put it on, you don't stick your thumbs through. So I actually have to rehab that raglan, and it's somewhere I would show you, but I did make a mess of it, and I'm mad at it, so I threw it in a corner. This is French terry. I decided just to make it straight for a thread stretch stitch on my serger, and I use the serger to construct the cuff as well. So you want to make sure, number one, the first step is make sure the sleeve is the right length and it's the right width on your wrist. That's the first step. Once you have that, and I'm going to take this off now so I can show you. Oh, Mary, nice color. I was thinking that when I was making it, that I wanted to have some color here. So I'm going to just show you, I'm going to take the cuff off that I have pinned here so I can show you how to draft the pattern for the opening of your, wrist. So let me just switch back to this. So I'm going to turn this inside out here on the side that I did not sew yet, the cuff. All right, so this is going to give us the first information that we need. So I'm just going to lay this flat like this. Oops, let me get this more over here now so we can see what we're doing. Okay, so this right here is, this is 4 inches. So, so if I take my ruler and I measured it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's including the little seam allowance here. So I know that the full length of my wrist is 8 inches, including 2 seam allowances. So that's how I'm going to draft my cuff. So I'm going to start at this, oops, I'm sorry. I'm going to start at this top edge right here. Let me just make this a little less, no, I think that's a little better. Okay, so this is going to be one side of my cuff. This is going to be one of the edges that gets sewn onto the wrist. And so I'm just going to make a guide here. So I'm just going to go down to 8 inches and I'm just going to make a little mark here. So that's the total width that I need from here to here to create the cuff. So I know that I need this much real estate to wrap around my sleeve. And Mary is commenting that you could put a cuff on a wider sleeve, and you absolutely can do that. If you like a wider cuff and you want to have a little thumb hole, you can see this still works. So if you want a looser fitting one, absolutely. So that's my point. Like, make sure this is what you want. Make sure the wrist diameter and the length of your sleeve is correct before you start drafting your pieces, so you know what this measurement is going to be. So you could make it any width you want, and I may very well decide later I want a looser fitting, you know, top with big loose slouchy sleeves, and I would definitely, you know, I could definitely still put the thumb hole opening in there. So the cool thing is you can make it any, you know, for any width that you want, because this works too. You can see that this works, being wider, but when I'm hiking, I like to be snug, and I only put thumb holes in things that I'm going to wear outside because I'm so hot inside I wouldn't need a thumb hole usually. So for me, I need a snugger one for hiking, but if you want a loose slouchy one, absolutely. Okay, so getting back to this is the total amount we need. So the next thing we have to decide is how much of this length here do we want to have the thumb opening contribute, right? Because remember, these pieces contribute to that total measurement because this end gets sewn onto here. Like the cuff doesn't get sewn together end to end. This end gets sewn on here, and then this end will get sewn onto this opposite side. So this contributes to the width of, or the opening of the wrist. So if the whole thing is 8 inches, I would say I'm gonna make my thumb opening about, you know, like between 1 3/4 and 2 inches. So I'm going to measure 6.5 inches. That'll give me 2 1/4 inch seam allowances, or I could do 6 3/4 to make it 3/8. And then what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to just draw a line there to get the width. So I'm including the seam allowances. So that's the other thing. You have to decide what your seam allowances are going to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and the crack here. Let me just move this over here. I have a crack. I have a little, let me see if this adds up to 1 inch. Oh, it does. All right, so I guess I can just, I don't have to jump over that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and measure 6 3/4 inches for my 3/8 inch seam allowances. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3/4 puts me right here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line like this. All right, and then the next thing you have to decide is how deep do you want your cuff? Okay, so like my cuff will be 3 inches finished by the time I add the allowance. So I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3/4. So I'm actually making a square here because it's 6 3/4 in both directions for the main part of the cuff. And Mary is saying that you could make the cuff smaller. Again, if you did that, you would have gathers like a sweatshirt all around the base of the sleeve. And if you want to gather or have, you know, if you want to stretch the cuff to fit the base of your sleeve, you absolutely can do that as well. For this one, I have a more streamlined, you know, fit 1-to-1, but you definitely can make this smaller so it's a little snugger on your hand, so it's not as loose as the one that I've been showing you here. So I could have made this a little bit smaller, but not as small as my sleeve. So again, that's up to you. You can either make it, you know, match your sleeve, or you can make it a little bit smaller so you have to stretch the cuff onto here. And again, just like Mary said, make sure that the stretch is going in the direction of, you know, around the cuff so you can stretch it. Victoria is saying, I love the thumb holes, pants fit coming along, need to take in from waist to hip and let out from knee to hem. Brought one of those tag guns, which really helps me fit clothes to my body. Oh, that's kind of cool. But you're using the tag gun to hold things together or make adjustments. That's cool. Oh, speaking of, there is one spot left in my pants fitting class in Indiana. So if anyone's watching this and they want to join me in Indiana on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of November, there is a single spot left. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. So now this becomes my cuff, and I'm going to just cut that out really quick so I can show you here. Okay, so I've got my cuff right here, and I'm going to fold it in half like this. So you can see this is now the length of my cuff, and with the seam allowance attached. So this is the, I'm going to put down here, top fold of cuff, just to give us some reference here. Okay, so this right here. Boop, 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 boop. All right, so that's that piece. Now, the next thing I'm going to decide is the, well, the easy part is going to be, let me go this way. So I wanted, if this is 6 inches, then I need 2 more inches to make 8 inches for the thumb piece. Oh, I see. So you're using the tag gun instead of pinning. That's really a cool idea, Victoria. I like that idea. Anything to make it easy. All right, so I'm going to make this 2 inches plus 3/4 for 2 seam allowances. So 2 3/4. Oh, and actually, I could just go like this. I'm just going to put it right here. I'm going to cut this little piece off here. All right, so I'm going to make this, the width of the width of both of the pieces I need is going to be 2 3/4. So I'm going to cut that off right now. Okay, and then the length of each piece, so the length of this piece and the length of this piece. Hey, RT Blades, welcome. I'm showing how to draft a thumbnail, a cuff with a thumb hole right here. And I'm showing how to make the pieces the size you need for your wrist opening. And we've already talked about the fact that you could make the cuff a little smaller and stretch it to match your wrist opening, or you can make it 1-to-1. I like to try my top on before I start drafting the pieces so I know it's the right diameter and the sleeve is the right length. So I tried this on and I took it in a little bit to make it the diameter I wanted, a more close-fitting wrist. So again, both of these pieces have to add up when they're folded in half minus a seam allowance, so that when you stack them, the longer one is the bottom piece and it gets positioned right here to start. And then this second piece, after it's sewn into a tube, overlaps the first piece, and the top fold has to be in line with the middle of the cuff, which is the top fold of the cuff. So basically, and again, just to show you, that's this piece is this piece, and this piece is this piece right here. Okay, so this piece is this piece, that piece is that piece. And the way I kind of figure it out is, how much overlap do we want? We don't want a ton of overlap. I have about, I don't know, 3/8 inch of overlap. So if I go ahead and just make a mark here, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna just make a mark here because I know I like whatever this is. Okay, so this is, if I make a line right here, I'm just gonna make a line. Okay, so this is gonna be the folded edge of bottom piece, P-I-E-C-E, and then this is going to be the folded edge of the top piece right on the fold of the cuff right here, right? So that means if I measure back now, I need from here to here, plus I need 3/8 of an inch of overlap. 1, 2, 3, it goes to here. So my top piece has to be double what this measurement is from here to here. So that's 1 3/8. So that means it's going to be 2 3/4 long. So this piece is going to be 2 3/4 inches long. And this piece is going to be double from here to here. So from here to here times 2 for my length. If I unfold this, you'll see. And then this one is going to be folded in half. It will be here. Now this piece is too big. Like I trim these pieces down. Well, actually, no, I didn't trim this one down. I have to have a seam allowance. So this is my seam allowance here. I need a seam allowance on this one. This one, the seam allowance is built in because I have a 3/8 inch seam allowance that runs the whole length of the cuff like this. All right, so I am going to make, here is my sheet. So I know the first one needs to be, this is 2 1/2. So that means that needs to be 5 inches. So if I measure down 5 inches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the length of this piece. And then this one needs to be, I think we already discussed it, it needs to be 2 3/4. So I'm going to measure down 2 3/4 like this. And here's my other piece. So now if I just go across like this, I'm just going to cut this one like this. I'm going to cut this one off right here. Seems like that's a lot bigger. Let me just double check that I measured this right. This is, yeah, that is 2 1/2. I'm just double checking to make sure. That is 2 1/2. So that is 5. So this one is a little bit shorter, but basically I'm going to cut this off right here. Like this. And then I'm going to cut the second one off down here like this. So now I've got, this is my bottom thumb, whoops, opening, bottom, and this is thumb opening, top. Okay, so now I've got my 3 pieces. Okay, and so now I'm just going to show you how to construct it so you can very easily follow along and make this. Hey Martina, welcome. I'm showing how to make a thumb hole opening in a cuff, and also to make it the diameter and the height you want. Okay, so now let's cut out. I have some of this extra scraps of red. I think there'll be enough here to cut out the pieces. So again, if you are making a fitted cuff, it's important that you cut the cuff pieces out so that they go with the stretch, right? So basically I'm going to take my main cuff piece, and I'm just going to position it on my fabric here, and I'm going to cut it out. Look at this cute thing. When I was teaching at University of Kentucky, one of my little gifts, see there's a little University of Kentucky sticker on there. I love my little mini pin cushion. It also sticks, it's magnetic, so it sticks to my magnetic cutting mats. Love, love, love. All right, so I'm going to cut this out. Now, obviously, if I were cutting out for a top I was doing, I would cut 2, right? I'm only cutting 1 because this is just a sample. Once you cut the pieces out and you know what you're doing, literally this goes together in 2 minutes. Well, 3 minutes. So there's my cuff. And now I'm going to cut out the 2 smaller pieces. Now the stretch on the smaller pieces also goes this way. So this is the direction of the stretch. Stretch. Okay, and over here the same thing, the stretch. And the easy way to remember which direction the stretch goes is it's the direction where they are the same width. Okay, so stretch this way. Okay, excellent. So now I'm going to cut out 1 of each of these, but if I were making, you know, if I were making them for 2 sleeves, obviously I would cut out 2. I think I can put them right next to each other. I'm going to try to cut them out as efficiently as possible here. Like this. Boop. So now I can just cut straight across. You can cut here. I'm going to cut them apart right here. Oops. And I'm going to cut this. And this. Actually, I'm going to cut this so I can move this out of the way. Oops, am I showing you what I'm doing? I'll cut it this way. And then this one's all done. Oops. Ew, I missed. That's not nice. Hold on. Let me just cut this. Okay, there's that piece, and then here's this piece. Okay. All right, so now I've got my pieces cut out. So I've got my cuff and my 2 pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this in half, and I'm just going to finger press a crease, and then I'm going to open it up. And just so you can really see what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and draw with chalk across the entire width of my cuff. This is this will be the finished folded top edge of my cuff. So see how this folded edge of the cuff, that's this line right here. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this stuff and I'm going to slide it over for a minute. This piece right here, the longer piece, gets folded in half, and that simply gets positioned right here in this upper, well, this is the upper left-hand corner, right sides together, like this. All right, so it gets put right there. And for now, just to hold it, I'm just going to put a couple clips right here just to hold it into position. Okay, so that's where that piece goes. And then I'm going to just get my sewing machine up here. Like I said, I did use my serger to sew my cuffs, but I think just to show you, it'll be easier to see on the sewing machine. Okay. All right, so let me just plug this in. Okay. All right, so now the next step is you have to take the little piece, which is this little, the top thumb hole piece, this little piece right here. And again, remember the 3-inch side that matches doesn't get folded. So I'm going to fold this right sides together like this, and I'm going to sew using you know, like my 3/8 inch seam allowance here, and I'm just going to stitch this together. Now on my real one, I used my serger, but you could do it either way. One of the benefits of doing it on the sewing machine for this piece is you could press this open like this, and that will reduce the bulk. So there is a benefit to pressing open. Oh, Tara's asking an excellent, oh, Tana's asking an excellent question. Do you have to make a left or a right? No, you do not, because when you sew it all together, it looks like this. So that's why Tana, in the beginning of the video, I showed how to put the shirt on and then line up the opening with your thumb. You know, put it on like this. Pretend this is the sleeve of my top I'm going to sew it to. If you put the cuff on like this, you can make sure it's lined up. The hole is lined up with your thumb, okay? And you can put them on either side, so there is no left and right. But that's an excellent question. So see how I finger press this open, okay? Then I'm going to turn it inside out, or right side out again. So that is one benefit of using the sewing machine for that one step, because then it's nice and flat. Okay, so let me get this back over here. All right, so I've got this all set up like this. And the other thing I need to do is line up this piece. Now this piece gets put on here, and you need to have about 1/4 inch, or up between 1/4 and 3/8 inch of an overlap. So I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to show it to you like a little sandwich. I'm going to get it all lined up here so you can see. This one's going to go to here. And I think I'm going to use some real pins for this so the clips aren't in the way. So first I'm going to pin this on like this. Okay, and then this piece right here gets positioned so that there is about a 1/4 inch overlap . And the top edge lines up with the middle of the cuff. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like here. I'm going to make it lighter so you can see. Let's see if I zoom right in so you can see. So I think you can see that there is about a 1/4 inch overlap where those pins are, right? And the top fold of the smaller piece is right at the 1/2 inch mark. All right, so let me put it flat so you can see it like this. Maybe like this will be better. So we've got the lower piece, we've got the two pieces overlapping 1/4, and the top fold is right along that folded edge of the cuff. Then what you do is you wrap the cuff around like this, and we're going to sew it. So I'm just going to take these pins out and pin them all together. So I'm literally taking the pin out and then pinning it back together. Taking the pin out, pinning it back together all the way, like this. Okay, so now it's ready to sew. Hey, Pat. Oh, you love the double check for thumb placement. Yeah, I don't know. I made one last year, and the sleeve was a little bit, it was too long, and the thumb opening was a little bit off, to, you know, rotated to one side, and I did not enjoy wearing it. So that's why I thought it'd be important to make sure we get all this together here. Okay, so now I'm going to sew this, and again, for the cuff that I made for the top, I did use my serger. You can see I'm just sewing through all the layers, and I'm taking my pins out as I come to them. Okay. All right, so now what we have here is if I open this up, you can see that we have one side of the cuff is sewn together. See? So we've got this side sewn, so now we have to sew. This end of the cuff has to get sewn to here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it inside out again, and basically I'm going to come in here inside, and I'm going to drag the bottom piece, this bottom piece, and this top piece are all going to now line up with this opposite end. This is my opposite end. I'm lining up the bottom thumb hole section and the top thumb hole section, so it's again overlap that 1/4 inch, right? That has to be overlapped a 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to pin that together while I can see it, that it's 1/4 inch. And then the other thing is the top fold of the top piece has to be in alignment with the center of my cuff, which has gotten a little faint. So I'm just going to redraw it here so you can see. It's right here. So I want to make sure that's lining up to there. Right there on the line. So I'm going to put a pin there. Now I'm working with really squishy French terry, so you have to be careful that you don't stretch anything and that everything is matching up. And then just like I did the other side, I'm going to wrap this around the top piece for the thumb, and I'm going to line it all back up like this. And while I'm over here, I'm going to replace this pin to hold all the layers. And then I'm going to line up this one where it's overlapping. And then I can just pin this last section into place down here. Okay, and again, we're going to sew this through all of these layers. Here's why I like magic pins. I can literally use my nail and pull it out like that. I absolutely love the magic pins. Is that too dark? Okay. All right. Take this pin out. All right. That is the last step to making this cuff. It's not hard. You know, once you understand how all the pieces go together and how to measure to get the finished result you want, it's very easy. Okay, so when you turn it to the right side, just know that if you turn it to the right side and you can see the seam, you see how I can see the seam in the top thumb piece? That's the inside of the cuff. So make sure before you attach it to your sleeve, you recognize the right side, which is the clean side, like that. And then this is the side that gets sewn to the wrist, right here. So that's how this all works. Isn't that fun? Whoops. So that's how you make a cuff. And then, since I only sewed one on, I think what I'm going to do is show you how to sew the cuff on using your serger. Hold on. So I'm going to get my serger back over here. All right, I'm just winding up. One of my spools fell off the serger when I was putting it back, so I just want to make sure it's not, the thread's not going to get stuck. Okay. All right, so let me show you, let me give you a tip for, I'm just going to pull this up for a second. I'm going to switch us to this for a second. Oh, good for those hikes with your fur babies. Yes, I'm very excited to have nice tops to hike. I went hiking this morning with my friend Richard, and last night he honestly texted me and he said, I might not be able to hike tomorrow. It's going to be freezing. I'll let you know. And I'm like, Richard, it's not going to be that cold. He's from Nigeria, so I think sometimes the cold weather scares him. All right, I'm going to put this back on so I can show you how to get this going here. So I've got my cuff. I'm going to use the one that I did on the serger. I think that's this one. Okay, so first of all, I don't want to stretch my neck out more than I need it, so I'm just sort of getting myself organized here. But anyway, so I'm going to look at my thing, and I think it'd be better if I show you over here now. Oops. Okay, so again, like I talked about at the beginning, you want to make sure the sleeve is the right length and the fit around the wrist is what you like. It can be wider, it could be narrower, it could be, whatever is comfortable for you, your fit. And then you can use this measurement to decide how wide you're going to cut everything. But basically now I'm going to stick this cuff over the wrist end of the shirt. And you can see here, I can literally make sure that the cuff, just make it a little bit brighter so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so there's my thumb opening. There's my thumb. I've got it right in alignment with my thumb. And I'm just gonna get all the layers to agree. Now, when I'm working on myself, with myself, by myself, I'm gonna just carefully make sure all the layers are right up next to each other. And I don't need to, I don't need to get them perfect so I can double check when I take it off. But basically, this is to get the position. So I'm gonna use some of my Wonder Clips to clip all those layers together. See? And really, I just need like 3 clips. So I'm going to put one there. I'm going to put one right here. And then I'm going to put one over here. So I'll just, reach in here and do one. Like this. Okay? So the cuff is all in position. And now I'm going to take this off. Again, carefully taking my cuff off. The other thing you want to be sure is you can see the seam. So there's the seam. So if you see the seam, then you know it's not going to be on the right side of your finished top. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and make sure, double check that all my layers are right up with each other and I didn't like create any extra folds or anything. I'm just going to make sure they're all nice. See, this one's folded back. That's bad. See how that's bad? So double check if you pin it, use clips while it's on your body, just double check and make sure that all matches. Like this. All right, so now I've got it pinned in 3 places like this. The next thing I'm going to do is plug in my serger. And I'm going to use my external light because I still haven't decided if I want to spend a gazillion dollars for a new light bulb for this thing yet. Okay, I'm going to bring this right here, and then I'm going to get this a little bit less bright. Make sure it's nice and sharp. Oops. That's nice and sharp. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my and I'm going to just find a spot where the clips won't be in the way. And at this point, honestly, I'm going to take this clip out and I'm going to lift my presser foot and I'm going to just shove it in there, make sure my needles are up so I can, you know, floss it back and forth to make sure everything's right up against the knife. Put my presser foot down, and then I'm carefully going to stitch in the round here. You know, this is a tight circle, so I'm going to be careful. Ooh, that scared me. Make sure the clips, the wonder clips, don't get in the way. Oh my goodness, that scared me. Make sure this stays out of the way. Okay. Okay, so when I get to the start point, I'm going to cut my tail. And then I'm going to put the knife down so it doesn't continue to cut. And I'm just going to overlap my start point a little bit. And then I'm going to raise my needles, raise my presser foot, push everything out from underneath. Okay, and then I'm going to put my presser foot down and chain off in the air, not on my fabric. So I'm not just veering off the edge. And then I'm going to just clip my thread. Boop. And you can see that makes a really nice start-stop point. See how you can't really see the start-stop point because I didn't veer off the edge. All right, so now this is super exciting. I'm going to shut this light back off. I'm going to put my serger back. And then let's try this on, and I will have all my pieces. I'm so excited. And I'll have 2 cuffs. So I'm going to finish this neckline with a knit strip, you know, like a t-shirt binding, a neck finish, like a rib knit kind of a thing. So I'll draw the neckline in a little bit. And then, see, I'm going to take my cuff, and I'm going to uncuff it. I'm going to stick it on, and you can see I have 2 nice thumb holes. Super excited. So if I stand up here, I don't need this anymore. Okay. And then, oops. All right, so now, if I just get myself all nice and straight here, I think you can see this is going to be a nice top when I finish it. And I have my two thumb holes. So I'm super excited. So I hope that this tutorial helps you. And you know, if you're new to my channel, if you found this tutorial because you were searching for a good thumb hole tutorial, I hope you enjoy it. If anyone has any questions about how to figure out how big to make the pieces based on the wrist, please let me know. But I really wanted to take the time to show all the steps because, like I said, I couldn't find a tutorial just teach me how to do it. So I had to, you know, kind of figure it out, analyze all the pieces and make sure I knew what I was doing. So that's fun. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me. Monday's cool tool is a gift from a sewing machine company, or not a sewing machine company, but a company that makes tools, a very important tool for sewing. Gave all the teachers in Houston a wonderful gift. So that will be my cool tool for Monday. I want to make sure I do a like a thank you video to this company. They are so generous. So I will be sharing that for cool tools on Monday, and I'll have a Fit Tip Tuesday, and I'll see you guys next week with a new Fab Fit Friday. It's going to be super fun. Oh, Pat says Team Color loves the mulled wine shirt. You know what? I love this color, and I made long knit shorts that I wear in the summer out of this as well. So I'm not wearing it as a twin set. I'm not a matchy kind of girl, but I do like having some things that are not black because, as you know, this is my uniform. These are those jockey model long sleeve t-shirts. I'm really trying to make things that are not black or gray. Although I do have 10 yards of really, really nice black sweatshirt fleece. So I will be making some black things because I got that from Fabric Mart last year when they had it on sale, and it's really nice. It's a 4-way stretch sweatshirt fleece. Like, I can't get over how nice it is. That's actually my washing machine, but I'm going to make pops of color to go with all my things that I might make that might be black out of that yummy 4-way stretch sweatshirt fleece. But in any case, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a happy weekend. And I'll see you next week. So thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to sign off now. All right, bye. Oh wait, are the cuffs, oh wait a minute, Sandra's asking, are the cuffs made from special different fabric? Same fabric. The important thing is make sure the stretch is going across this way so it stretches comfortably over your hand. But you could use a rib knit. You could use a contrasting color. So, you know, just make sure the stretch is going across your body and also across the diameter of the cuff. All right, I'm off now. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.